a few sporting teams and events and that sort of thing that are named after historical events and people, so I thought I'd name a few, starting with Tottenham Hotspur. Now, the Hotspur of their name comes from Henry Hotspur Percy, a nobleman in the 15th century who rebelled against the king. But he was based up in Northumberland, so the reasons as to why Tottenham, a London club, chose the name Hotspur is a bit of a mystery. Say that his descendants owned land in Tottenham in the 19th century when the club was formed, but you could also say that because the club was founded by students, these students were sort of inspired by his inclusion in Shakespeare's Henry IV Part 1. Likewise, over in Liverpool, one of the main terraces in their stadium is called the Kop, and this is named after Spion Kop. Well, I should say that a lot of stadiums around the country have a terrace that's described as a Kop, and the first to do so was probably Arsenal's. For those who don't know, Spion Kop was a battle in the Boer War, and the terraces aren't named in honour of this battle. After all, it was a resounding defeat. Instead, it's called the Kop because the fans in the terrace, all cramped together in such a high stand, look like British troops on the hill during that battle. There is one historical event that keeps cropping up in English sports, and that's the War of the Roses. For instance, there's the Roses tournament between the universities of York and Lancaster. When Lancashire and Yorkshire play each other at cricket, it's called the Roses match, and sometimes the Leeds Man U rivalry is called the same. Here lies the problem. It's based on some common misconceptions about the wars. First of all, they didn't use roses. Well, some Yorkists used a white rose, but Lancashire only used a red rose after the Battle of Bosworth, so pretty much once the war ended, to create the Tudor rose. And if you're interested, contemporaries called it the Cousins' War. In fact, in most battles, an animal was flown on the banner, like, for instance, Henry's dragon or Richard's boar. And there's another misconception about this. The two counties didn't really fight each other, and to try and explain this, I'll compare it to the royals today. Say Prince Richard, the grandson of George V, decided to claim the throne and went to war against Prince William. Well, Richard is the Duke of Gloucester and William is the Duke of Cambridge, so this would be the Gloucester-Cambridge War. But on the ground, the situation would be very different, and it was the same back then. If you take Edward IV during the wars, he was the Duke of York, but he was also the Earl of Cambridge and Ulster, his brother was the Earl of Rutland, etc, etc, etc. These were merely titles. And if you look at the situation on the ground, the allegiances often changed, and Yorkshire in particular was incredibly divided. For instance, John Clifton was the Baron of Skipton in Yorkshire, and he was a prominent Lancastrian. And so too was Stafford and Holderness, which is also in Yorkshire. And if you look at maps that people have tried to produce pertaining to the war, you can see how complicated it is. Plus, interestingly, John Talbot, the Earl of Shrewsbury, was born in Sheffield Castle, and his family was very influential in the city, but he was a Lancastrian. So when Sheffield United has a Yorkshire rose on its badge, this might be completely inaccurate.